My name is M Hamelin, and I am the team lead for USAID Southern Africa's Democracy, Human Rights, and Governance team. I'm also the program manager from USAID for the Advancing Rights in Southern Africa program, and it's a program that I'm very proud to be associated with. I've had the pleasure of participating in a learning event that ARISA convened for its partners from across the region. I wanted to share some of my observations from this learning event and from my 2 years working to support this program. One of the things that's highly effective about ARISA is the multidisciplinary approach that it takes to advancing human rights in Southern Africa. This approach is possible in part because ARISA is made up of a number of organizations that bring different expertise, from Freedom House, which brings expertise in human rights, to PACT, which has a lot of capacity in building capacity, the American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative, which is excellent in areas like strategic litigation, and of course Internews and its focus on the media. So by bringing together these consortium partners, ARISA is able to approach human rights issues in a much more holistic way. I should note that while these are all international organizations, their staff are all from Southern Africa, which is incredibly important when it comes to having people with a strong understanding of the local context, the history, the politics of the region, people who are trusted and valued experts in their field. ARISA has demonstrated that approaching human rights from a multidisciplinary approach is much more effective. Approaching things holistically can really have a significant impact. So, for example, ARISA doesn't just work with Indigenous peoples' organizations to promote advocacy. ARISA also trains lawyers to learn how to represent the rights and the needs of Indigenous peoples. ARISA works with journalists to help them to understand and to portray the issues and the plight of Indigenous peoples in their countries. And by bringing all of these stakeholders together in one room, the program is able to be much more effective than working with each of these groups in isolation. One of the other ways in which ARISA is really unconventional and really productive is the fact that it's a regional program. So while the program does focus to some degree on bilateral, on individual countries and activities and partners in those countries, it also works to bring partners together across the region, to share learning, to share best practices, but also to provide each other with mutual support. So for example, groups in Lesotho who recently influenced draft legislation on media laws were brought together with their counterparts in Botswana who were facing a similar situation. This is just an example of how the ARISA program can create these linkages across countries that can both help to influence positive human rights experiences and approaches, but also helped to prevent countries from taking on more negative practices that they see in neighboring countries. Another strength of the ARISA program is its focus on working with and through local organizations. This aligns really closely with USAID's prioritization of localization. So USAID's administrator, our highest ranking official, a woman by the name of Samantha Power, recently noted that, and I quote, "When we partner with local NGOs and businesses, we have an opportunity to double our impact, to not just manage a project and deliver results, which is important, but to grow the local capacity of that business or organization so its impact will be sustained long after its relationship with USAID ends." USAID plans to provide at least a quarter of its assistance through local partners by the end of the next 4 years. And so there's a lot of work that we have to do to ensure that we can meet that goal. Administrator Power recently noted, and I quote, that if we truly want to make aid inclusive, local voices need to be at the center of everything we do. She then noted that the entire development community needs to interrogate the traditional power dynamics of donor-driven development and look for ways to amplify the local voices of those who too often have been left out of the conversation. Participating in the ARISA learning event has given me an opportunity to hear directly from our local partners what prevents our partnerships from being more successful. Partners raise themes like core grants so that they can keep the lights on, grants that extend for a longer period of time, flexible awards that allow them to respond to windows of opportunity and to changes in the environment around them. This and other lessons were freely offered by our partners during this learning event, and these suggestions, these recommendations will go a long way in helping USAID to further its work with local partners and organizations. So it was a pleasure to participate in this learning event. I'm very grateful for the important work that ARISA is doing with and through these local partners. Thank you.